Welcome, welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Good afternoon, maybe even good evening if you're joining us from Europe or anywhere else. We want to welcome you to this session with our wonderful partner, Veeam. And today we will be discussing our VirtualQ Protect and Archive session this afternoon. And with me is like I said, our partner Veeam. My name is Diana Salazar. I'm the Product Marketing Manager for Enterprise Backup and Archive at Quantum. And the team from Veeam, I will let them introduce themselves, but why don't you take over, Matt?
Excellent. Thank you, Diana. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us at Quantum VirtualQ Protect and Archive. My name is Matt Lloyd. I'm a Senior Manager of Global Alliances, and I'm joined by Steve Firms, Solution Architect in Product Management. We'll hear a little bit more from Steve momentarily. We're happy to be here. We're also fortunate to have many Quantum customers leveraging Veeam worldwide, whether it's DXI for long-term retention, QXS for hybrid storage arrays, maintaining availability for growing unstructured data sets like video, or even tape. Quantum and Veeam provide customers the opportunity to manage their data throughout its life cycle. In the past, we discussed tape's role in tomorrow's architectures, and we've also discussed things like best practices with Veeam together with Quantum storage. We've even talked a little bit over the years about how to protect against ransomware. We won't have time to get into that level of depth today, but please know if you're interested in learning more about these topics, we have resources for you. And I could talk about things like our 300,000 customers and why our customers have lauded us in the market in terms of a Net Promoter Score. But I really want to get into the heart of the matter with regards to where Veeam and Quantum intersect. So as we move into the next slide and talk about how that evolves, right, it's important to start from the point of the 3-2-1 rule, right? So earlier today, Jamie Lerner, CEO at Quantum, discussed how by 2025, 80% of the world's data will be unstructured. Think about that. How do you manage that? We need starting points, fundamentals, flexible rules to begin from. And the 3-2-1 rule states that you have 3 different copies of your data on 2 different media, one of which is off-site. And it's a good idea to add another one to that rule where that one copy is offline, especially as we're in the height of ransomware attacks as they evolve to where the money is in corporations. If you've seen any security commentary over the last month, year or so, you're going to see that these organizations are starting to target corporations more than anything else. The growth in the corporate space has just been astounding. But offline storage is an option as well. And there are a number of options where you can implement an offline or semi-offline copy of your data. And of course, we don't want recovery errors, right? So being able to affirm that your backup is recoverable is imperative. And if you're looking at that, recoverability is actually a word. But let's talk about how Veeam can help, right? So we'll start as we look at how do we mitigate data loss, right? So in the next slide, by reducing the time between backups, we talk about things like RTOs, and then of course increasing the number of recovery points, RPOs, right? Recovery time, recovery point objectives, respectively. But I would argue that by simplifying that process, your data becomes even easier to recover. And today, Veeam has several ways of accomplishing this, right? You're seeing some of those there on the right side. And though the Veeam Enterprise Data Mover has integration with the Quantum DXI today, the ability to add storage and scale out via Veeam's Scale Out Backup Repository is important, as is leveraging application-aware capabilities. And even verifying recoverabilities we talked about in the previous slide is important, right? And being together with Quantum can help you mitigate data loss through these capabilities combined with Quantum capabilities. So we're going to talk about how this has changed with the introduction of Veeam Backup and Replication version 10. And that starts with how things have evolved from having the ability to leverage S3 compatible storage. And Steve, this is certainly where I want to bring you into the conversation, because as we look at this, capacity tier was introduced in a previous version of Veeam, 9.5 Update 4 specifically. And now, we're moving to a point in time where we can leverage not only a performance tier, but also capacity tier as well. Do you want to talk a little about how this has evolved in version 10?
Sure, Matt. So as you said, in 9.5.4, we introduced the capacity tier. And the capacity tier was an extension at that point of the performance tier. So we had the ability to move data after a certain period of time. Let's say, you wanted to keep local backups in your performance tier for 30 days. Any data, backup data that was older than 30 days would then get moved over to the capacity tier. So it was an extension of the performance tier. And the capacity tier, is typically S3 target, low-cost object storage. So it was a way to, get a bigger bang for your buck on the expensive performance tier. Now, in February of this year, we introduced our copy mode in version 10. So that's, as it sounds, it makes a copy. So as soon as a backup is created in the performance tier, it is immediately copied over to the capacity tier. And this, to your previous slide, Matt, satisfied the 3-2-1 rule. Because with the move mode that we came out with in 9.5.4, you didn't always have the data in two locations. It was either in the performance tier or it was in the capacity tier. Now in version 10, with the copy mode, it can be in both sites. The move mode is still there, and we can use the move mode still with the copy mode. They work together. So in the example where I said, you want to keep your local backups on the performance tier for 30 days, now with the copy mode, those will immediately get copied to the capacity tier. After 30 days now, we can prune out the data off of the performance tier, but it still exists in the capacity tier. So that the two combinations of the move and the copy are quite a powerful combination.
No, thank you for that, Steve. I appreciate you getting into some level of depth there. And while this, and we love to talk about this feature since it was introduced back in February, but certainly you can see here that, there are a variety of options for that long-term retention and leveraging cloud storage, right? Now, if you're looking for a way to see which technologies are currently been tested with this, you can go out to veeam.com/ready, and it will provide you some additional details as to what has been tested with this particular functionality. But let's move out of long-term retention for a moment and talk about enhanced NAS backup. Now, for some of you who may have known Veeam for a little while, and if you're new to Veeam, you may not be alone in this either. But Veeam did have some NAS backup capabilities, but we noticed there was opportunity to bring additional capabilities as it was mentioned earlier by Jamie, there's certainly a large growth in unstructured data, right? So how do we leverage this? And Steve, this is a unique way as we build out this slide. There are a variety of different ways that we can take advantage of this through a unique Veeam change file tracking engine. Do you want to get into that for a moment?
Sure. As you mentioned, prior to version 10, we had the ability to protect NAS backups. We introduced it in 9.5.4 as well with it was NDMP to tape. NDP, hadn't been updated since the 90s. It did what it did, but you didn't have file level recovery, didn't have point in time recovery. So in version 10, we came out with our NAS backup, and as you noted, pretty much every NAS protocol as well as Windows and Linux file servers we support. In the change file tracking is the crucial component. So this NAS backup was designed to handle petabytes of data, billions of files. And the way we did that was through the change file tracking. And the way that works is we go through the tree and we basically assign a checksum, a fingerprint to the folders and files. So when we go to the scan, we don't have to interrogate each individual object. So like in this example, we would go through and check the root folder. Yep, it changed. And we'd go check folder 1 and folder 2. We'd see that the fingerprint in folder 1 changed. Now folder 2 didn't change, so we won't look any deeper. In folder 1, we then see that only folder 3 changed, and we'll go down to file D. So very quickly, we can cut down the number of interrogations that we do in inspections of the objects. So it's very, very fast process to handle. And it's an incremental forever methodology. So once you do your initial full, it's only incrementals at that point. And doing this change file tracking is a very, very fast process.
No, that's great, Steve. And of course, we've got the ability, right, as this site continues to build out from left to right, the ability to, not have file locks, right, certainly do some point-in-time capabilities and then offload that performance, right? So there are, the variety of elements here that are designed strategically to be able to manage that data effectively. But, beyond mitigating data loss, that's not the only aspect that we need to consider here, right? Maintaining availability is also important to consider. And as we change slides, right, several of these Veeam features that are going to arrive on screen momentarily, you're probably familiar with because we've talked about these over time, right? So things like instant VM recovery, the ability to leverage our application-centric explorers. These are capabilities we've had for a while. But what you may see here that's new is, if you're leveraging AWS EC2 or Microsoft Azure, in addition to capabilities like Quantum's acquisition of ActiveScale technologies, right, you can leverage hybrid cloud. And we know more of you are. Next week, for example, during Veeam On, Veeam will be sharing more on trends associated with hybrid cloud from a DR perspective. And we're going to offer you a sneak peek for any of you who are part of the VMUG community on Thursday, June 11th, during our session at VMUG Virtual Connect. So we're going to provide additional information here. And we didn't have time to get into it. It's not like we're trying to tease you into joining us at Veeam On, although I would highly encourage you to join us. Certainly an opportunity out there to see Brad Paisley, in addition to some of our great folks who will be attending that event. But we want to talk about instant VM recovery for a moment. And Steve, this has evolved as we move into the next slide here, certainly a significant amount here. One of the things that Veeam has been providing as far as data recovery and portability allows you to that instant recovery capability for any Veeam backup. But we've brought in the capability to do a direct restore to vSphere here. Can you just, quickly for our audience, give a quick synopsis on that?
Sure. So as you mentioned, data portability is huge. So with Veeam version 10, we now have the ability to restore anything that Veeam backed up, any agent, basically anything we've done, we now can restore directly into vSphere. So, if you had a physical server, for instance, and it failed, you can now, before you even replace it, or if you do choose to replace it, you can first restore it into vSphere and run it in the cloud, or vSphere itself. Again, very powerful in data portability.
Excellent. No, and that's an important point. And speaking of powerful recoverability, right, one of the aspects that has been topical in this particular conference has been security and the ability to do things like secure restore. So as we move into the next slide, right, so not only can you directly restore to a vSphere instance, and you create that instance. We're going to build out this slide through a couple of clicks from left to right for you, right? And the bottom line is from here. I don't have time to go into significant depth on this because we have a whole session just devoted to this particular capability that runs over the course of an hour. But certainly with quantum-related technologies, right, you may be looking for ways to restore off of that. And what you might not know is that with Veeam, you can do that, right? And you have a couple of options. So our first, if we click one more ahead, is when you do a restore, you may find an infection or you may not. And if you don't, you continue with that restore. Or as the slide is dictating here, you may find that infection, but you still want to proceed to recover that data anyway. So you might do things like disable the network. Or in a last step here, as the slide continues to build out, we may find an infection and we may want to stop and scuttle that restore entirely. So we do have options here in leveraging secure restore. But it's not just about that ability to securely restore data. There may be times where you don't want to restore particular data. This is especially true in compliancy. Again, things like GDPR, and as we evolve into that next slide, right, this is a good example of a situation that you might encounter as you restore data from a previous state, right? Now, we know most of the time, well beyond most of the time, you're going to restore from one of the more recent backups, likely the most recent backup. But as you reach back further in time, there may be a reason why you run into things like GDPR compliancy and security compliancy. So Veeam does provide you the ability to exercise that right to be forgotten that we are seeing more and more be built into Privacy Acts. So this is just another way that we can help navigate you through that process. And if I jump into the last slide here before we get back to Diana, I just want to make sure I point out that, with Quantum, there's this whole lifecycle capability that we have built together, right? So it doesn't just start with tape. And I know we have a great community out there that's leveraging Quantum together with Veeam around tape. But I would certainly encourage you, look at that lifecycle of data, right? So tape obviously gives you the opportunity for a completely offline situation, right? We're all familiar with worm functionality. But through replicated VMs, right, or immutable backups, right, as we continue to build out this slide, even if you're looking with one of our cloud and service provider partners, and that's an important element here we shouldn't forget when we talk about hybrid cloud, is you can absolutely take advantage of technologies like ActiveScale along with a member of the Veeam cloud and service provider community to build out your true hybrid cloud or multi-cloud scenario, right? And you have opportunities to do that. And even for those of you who are just, taking the hard drives out of it, and, don't laugh, this is actually very viable to some particular situations, especially for those of you in the financial sector. And we've seen some work from home capabilities highlighted with this, where that actually worked way back in March when folks were faced with that situation. I know Steve mentioned the 90s moments ago. Who knew we'd be that nostalgic for the 90s? But certainly, as you look at Quantum and you look at Veeam together, we offer a variety of capabilities around the life cycle of data. So with that, Diana, I will turn it back over to you to talk a little bit more about our collaboration from a Quantum perspective.
Thank you so much for that, Team Veeam. I really appreciate it, and I think that that conversation just leads us really neatly into the looking at this from the lens of our partnership, Quantum and Veeam, from a Quantum perspective. And again, all that information that was shared, if you need additional information from the team, please feel free to reach out. But I wanted to level set here a little bit on the value of our solutions in a DXI environment with Veeam. And, it's kind of multifaceted. The DXI Veeam is integrates with VDMS. We provide those ultra-fast backups, instant restores to maximize production, system availability. We'll talk more about this integration a little bit later, but the second there is that offline protection against ransomware with tape storage, tape for long-term archive. It's the easiest way to create copy to protect against pretty much any cyber attack, but, ransomware has been a lot in the news, and it's been for quite some time, and it's just the threat keeps growing incredibly, and so, an offline copy, get it air-gapped, it's, immutable in many cases. So, think about that as an option. And then, of course, we are experts in data protection, and we work well with partners, with end users, with Veeam as well, and other of our partners, and we provide that knowledge base and best practices, to protect your critical applications from data loss, from, again, malware, and even disasters. This rule is as old as time. That 3-2-1 rule is as old as time, and we added that one, just like Veeam had mentioned earlier on. That one for us is that offline copy, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But I also want to mention that we have ActiveScale that is in the works right now. It's Object Store, Veeam-Ready Object Store for Veeam 10. It is in the works, and we expect that to be ready and certified towards the end of the year. So, look at us as that option in as far as data protection and protecting you from that data loss in a 3-2-1-1 scenario. So, this DXI Veeam Data Mover Service architecture, just want to show you a quick picture here. This Veeam agent runs in the DXI process space, and it has direct access to DXI resources. What it does, it provides better performance than if Veeam was running against a DXI NAS share as a shared folder. And why that is important and why it matters is because you're going to get the backup and restore speeds and get the data reduction as well. And if you see here in this example, we are, put the DXI against the competition, and our performance, was kind of equal, or read performance was right about there. But then you start looking at that data reduction and look at that replication performance. They were 10-1, we were 159-1. And so why, select between, restore performance and that data reduction when you can get both? So that's why it matters. I mean, we're in the business of making sure we meet your SLAs, and so that's what the type of integration we have with Veeam, so that we can enable that that fast restore and meet your SLAs. And with this new feature in Veeam 10, where we speed up your synthetic full backups with fast clone, I love this feature. It basically is just a backup and replication technology that will help you create these quick file copies. And so what fast clone does is it's going to increase the speed of the synthetic backup creation and transformation, and it's going to reduce the requirements of a space and the load requirements. So before, what happened was, in order to do a synthetic full, we had to rehydrate the data, and so that took up a lot of load requirements. And so now what we're able to do is we are able to read that data off the metadata, and so it just it references the existing blocks on volumes instead of copying data blocks between files. It's not I/O intensive. The data blocks are copied only when the files are modified. So this is incredibly interesting. And as you will see here in the next slide, it's interesting because it went from not having fast clone. Look at the speeds. I mean, we used to be able to do these fast clones in 5 hours and 7 minutes. And look at it now with this feature enabled in V10. You were able to do these synthetic fulls in 21 minutes. So that's incredibly faster, up to 15 times faster. So we're really, really happy about this feature enabled within V10. So take a look at that. If you're still on 9.5 and you want to enable this synthetic full backup feature, we encourage you to look at V10 and see if that's something that you can leverage. And with that, our partner Veeam talked about, enabling this rich feature set in V10 with tape, and mainly it's that security, that air gap capability. What Quantum has done is we created these ransomware protection packs that makes it very simple. We want to take the homework out of looking up at all the things you might need to protect against ransomware. And so we want to enable you to protect that data without exerting too much effort, because we understand it's your long-term copy, it's your offline copy, we get it. And so our goal is to make it very simple and efficient for you. And so what we've created is 3 protection packs. They come in a small, medium, and large. The capacity ranges from 600 terabytes to about 2.4 petabytes in capacity, as you can see there. And now we've recommended this configuration from a small i350 slot to a 200 i6 tape slot and 100 cartridges. So it comes with support. It's all included in there. You have the option to make some changes, but we wanted to make something simple and easy for you to take a look at. If you need ransomware protection, the inherent nature of tape is that it's got that air gap capability. We'll look at that a little bit more a few slides forward. But also, I want to mention that if you are already a Scalar user and you want to enable it for, ransomware protection, we want to offer you this software add-on that's available. It includes the ActiveVault software license, it includes key managers and servers, and it includes the advanced reporting license that you can add on to your current Scalar if you don't already have them. Again, the capacities referenced above can be any combination of backup storage and ActiveVault storage, as defined by your needs. So this is, it's not set in stone, but we just want to make it very, very simple and easy for you to, as an option for you to look at for ransomware protection. Now, what we have coming soon, like I mentioned earlier, is ActiveScale as a Veeam-Ready object target. We want to ensure that there's business continuity, that we are helping you meet your RTOs and your RTOs, and protecting your data against any type of losses, disasters, whether it be cyber, whether it be like what we're currently facing, you know, and we want to help you avoid those cloud egress charges, because as we know, there's some, not only those egress charges, but there's also some, you know, hidden costs that not a lot of people are aware of. And so we want to enable you not only to protect against such disasters and data loss, but also give you that TCO, that ability to control where your data resides. And there's many options you have. We understand that, but all of these with ActiveScale coming up here shortly to be certified by Veeam, I mean, we are working together to enable you to leverage the rich feature set in V10 and Veeam solutions. And then primarily we work with them on, we integrate very, very well with our DXi backup appliances, purpose-built backup appliances, and data deduplication, and as well with tape storage. And so you have quite a bit of options. We understand that. But with Quantum and the Veeam integration, you have the ability to integrate with our object store, ActiveScale for that long-term archive storage, you know, for those customers that have multiple petabytes of data. I mean, you saw if you joined the keynote this morning with our CEO, Jamie, he talked about the data growth and that you know, unstructured data and the tremendous growth it's going to have. I mean, 80% of the data by a certain period of time is going to be, you know, if 80%, and that's unstructured data. So what do you do with all that data? And as more people, like we're all working remote, as more people generate more data from those endpoints, more video-like data, you know, we have to figure out a way. And so we're together with our partner, we are, you know, innovating, and we're creating and building enhanced features into our product set so that you can, at the end of the day, be able to recover quickly and meet and exceed your RPOs and RTOs. And so with that, I just want to close with just, you know, once again, talking about how Veeam and Quantum enable that 3-2-1-1 data protection. Again, this is how we help our customers protect their data. It's the 3-2-1-1 rule. It's a rule as old as time, but the idea is there, and it's help protect our customers. We've seen it time and time again. You know, keep 3 copies of your data, 2 different types of media. 1 copy is offsite, and that additional 1 for us means, you know, 1 copy is kept offline. And we'll take a look at this. If you join us for our ransomware session later on in the day, we're going to talk a little bit more about what we mean by that and the new use case for tape. And so I hope you can join us. But our unique integration here offer both the option to use a purpose-built backup appliance and tape. And as you can see in the diagram here, you know, you see these backup servers and proxy servers, which are data movers, you know, of all the production servers up on the top, and they're all being backed up. And so you have the option to leverage you know, in this example, it's the DXi 4800, but it could be the DXi 9000 and the tape library, and it helps you. Also, if you're using the DXi 4800, you can replicate that to an offsite DR facility. So, you know, with Veeam, we enable you to implement this backup rule, the backup strategy of 3-2-1-1. Again, 3 copies of your data kept, 2 in different types of media, 1 backup offsite, whether it be the cloud or your DR facility, and 1 copy offline on tape. And so with that, we will take any of your questions at this point.
And Diana, by the way, I loved the Tale as Old as Time reference. So we stuck with our '90s theme in there. Beauty and the Beast, of course, was released by the Walt Disney Company in 1991. So we didn't plan on that, but it worked out rather well. So it was one question in the forum here. So we get a question related to the Veeam-Ready process. So that's a testing capability. So it's not officially a certification, but if you go out to veeam.com/ready, you can see you'll see the Quantum DXi has been, of course, tested and verified as a Veeam-Ready solution, as well as several other quantum technologies. So you can filter down there based on partner. It's a great resource for our customer base.
Awesome.
Diana, do we have any other additional questions there out in the forum? I was looking through the list here.
There is one question about vSphere 7. Can you address that a little bit further?
Sure, absolutely. So, as an effort to keep things up to date with related technologies, VMware, of course, impacting Quantum and Veeam and releasing new versions. vSphere 7 was, of course, released in April. We do have full support for vSphere 7. If you missed that, we had a great webinar last week talking about that and some of the elements to consider as you upgrade. So Rick Vanover from the Veeam side did that presentation. But certainly if you're, from a Veeam perspective, Diana, I'll let you speak to the quantum elements there, but from a Veeam perspective, we do fully support vSphere 7 at this time.
Great. Okay, well, I don't see any other questions. I think all of them that were there were addressed. So, yeah, if you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to the Veeam website or to the team if you already have contacts there. I'm sure Matt and Steve are very happy and willing to take any of your questions or concerns, as well as for us at Quantum. Feel free to reach out. And with that, the Veeam team, do you have anything else to add before we close out?
Sure.
No, we appreciate. Oh, go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry.
Well, just our question about instant VM recovery. So yes, in version 10, instant VM recovery can be parallel, so you can run multiple instant recoveries at the same time.
Oh, excellent. Great point, Steve. We didn't talk about that. No, we appreciate the opportunity here, Diana. So thank you to you and to the entire Quantum team for inviting us to be a part of this. We're glad to have spent a few minutes with you. And again, if you have any questions, as Diana mentioned, don't hesitate. I am responsible for the alliance that Veeam has with Quantum. I'd be happy to help either answer your question directly or get you in touch with your respective account team out there, or for our partner friends out there who may be listening as well. An opportunity to engage you with your appropriate partner manager. Thanks again.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Stick around. We have a lot more coming up in sessions, very interesting ones. So we hope you can stick around through the day and select the sessions you'd like to join us. And we'll see you soon. Thanks so much.